Hey guys, you're back at fiddleandmike.com, and this week it is guitar time. You're going to learn how to do Texas swing style chords. I've had a lot of requests from students who want to learn how to play those closed swing style and jazz style chords, and so I'm going to go through those today with you, and not only am I going to show you the chords, but I'm going to unlock the secrets to making them work together. Because anybody can buy a chord book and just learn a bunch of chord forms, but it's another step further to be able to use those chords in a song, to know how they work together and how to use them to your advantage. And of course you can print out the sheet music and the tabs that have all these chord forms and the progressions. You can print them out at fiddleandmike.com, and if you're not already a gold member, go sign up to be a gold member. You can get this complete lesson plus the sheet music for all my lessons. So just go to fiddleandmike.com and subscribe and you can get all this stuff. Okay, this first progression that I'm going to teach you is in the key of A. And in order to familiarize you guys with the concept of a walking bass line, we're going to do an open progression, meaning I'm going to utilize open strings. Eventually we're going to graduate to a closed progression, so we don't use any open strings, and that has the benefit of once all your chords are closed, then you can move that around the neck and play it in any key. But for now, our first progression is going to be an A, and it's going to use open strings. Okay, this progression is a classic Texas style breakdown progression. So you could do this to Sally Gooden, Gray Eagle, Sally Johnson, any of those tunes. But this is in the key of A. And the basic progression is 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, so that's the basic progression. You have A for 2 bars, then D for 2 bars, then A for 2 bars, then E. A, D, then E. Go back to the A. Okay, so like I told you, first things first, we have to learn the chords of the song. So there are your chords, and pretty much every breakdown follows that same pattern. Gray Eagle, Sally Gooden, Tom and Jerry is pretty similar. So you can use this for all those A breakdowns. Now the next thing you want to do is you want to figure out your bass line. Now bass line, there's a million different variations, and that's where part of the creativity comes in. Is you can figure out and create your own bass line that you like, and then figure out the chords to go with it. I'm going to show you a really common bass line. This is a pretty basic one. So I'll just play the bass line. 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright? So that seems pretty simple enough. So now we have to figure out the chords to go with it. So this first chord, with that first bass note of the open A, is just your standard A chord. Now many of you probably already know the A chord, and you may have learned it like this, with 3 fingers, all on the first fret, on the D, G, and B string. So you take your first, second, third finger, and I'll plop them all down on that first fret. That's how many of you may have learned it. I want you to do it a little differently. I want you to use what's called a bar, meaning you take only your first finger and you lay it across the D, G, and B strings, covering the first fret. Okay? The reason I want you to do that is because when you have a bar, when you're using only your first finger to do that chord, you now have 3 other fingers that you can play with and that you can form bass notes with. It will be really difficult at first to play this with a bar because you're having to press down on all those strings with 1 finger. But the more you play guitar, the stronger your hands are going to get, and the easier it's going to be to do that chord. And once you get to that point where it's easy to form that chord, you're going to realize it's a lot easier to do these progressions when you only have to use one finger than when you have to use three. Okay, so concentrate on getting that one finger in there, okay? And you pretty much deaden the E strings. So when you do a downstroke, you know, your first note is you're plucking the bass note, and then you're strumming. And when you're strumming, you don't want to hit all the strings at once. You want to control which strings that you hit in order to get out the notes and the chord sound that you intend to get out. For instance, if I hit all the strings, this is what it would sound like. It just doesn't sound right because you have the E note sort of dominating the low register and covering up your bass note. You want your bass note, which in this case is the A, to be the lowest note that you play when you strum. So when you strum, you're only going to hit the A, the D, G, and B strings. And if you wanted, you could even only hit the D, B, the D, G, and B strings, and not even hit the A on the downstroke, because you're doing boom, chick, and your chick, the strum, is going to be higher tonally than your bass note. But if you hit that A note, it's okay. Alright? So we have that. And a good variation for that is you take your fourth finger and you put your fourth finger on the A note on the E string. Okay? This allows you to hit the E string and he'll still have the note as part of the chord. It's a bit of a stretch. You know, I'll hide the other fingers. It's a bit of a stretch, but again, the more you play guitar, the stronger your hands are going to get and the easier that will become. Another variation is instead of just putting your fourth finger down on the 5th fret for the A note on the E string, put it down on the 5th fret, the E note on the B string as well. So hit both of those notes. And that mirrors the sort of sound that you get when you play the bluegrass G chord. Okay, you're just moving it up 2 frets, and then barring to get your A chord here. So those are some options. You can just do the straight up A with the bar, throw in the high A, or then cover both the E and the B strings. But for now, I'm just going to be doing it with that basic A, and that's what you can do as well. Okay? So that's our first chord, with the A bass note. Next chord, there's your bass note. It's with the C sharp, and you use your 3rd finger on the A string. So let's play that whole progression right now. Okay? So there is your full-on A breakdown progression using primarily open chords, although I'm sure you learned a couple new ones. But you can see how easy it is just to add a walking bass line. You can do it with open chords that you're all familiar with. You keep those open chords. But you think about where you want the bass line to go. And there's all kinds of variations and options. You know, I just showed you one of a million. And all we did is for every chord we played the tonic, which is the A, or the D, or the E, and then we played a 3rd up, and then on the D, a 3rd up to the F sharp, and when we play the E, 3rd up to the G sharp. So that bass line is pretty formulaic and pretty easy to understand, and all we did was we applied the chords that we were able to play while hitting that bass note. Okay, so there's your intro to Texas-style walking bass line guitar progressions. We're going to learn some more difficult ones later on, and you'll really start to expand your skill set there.